Every time you scroll, something ancient and hungry stirs inside your brain. Social media was never actually designed to make you happy or fulfilled. It was engineered by teams of psychologists to keep you hugged forever. Today, we expose the dark psychology hiding behind every single app icon. Dopamine is the chemical that drives every notification, like, and comment received. But it's not pleasure you're chasing, it's the anticipation right before a reward. Slot machines use this exact same trick, called a variable reward schedule. You never know when the next like arrives, so checking becomes constant. That unpredictability is precisely why casinos and apps feel so strangely addictive. Infinite scroll removes every natural stopping point your brain once relied upon. There's no page to finish, no chapter to close, just endless content. Engineers call this the bottomless bowl effect, and it works disturbingly well. Every swipe releases a tiny hit, keeping you trapped in a loop. Social comparison theory explains why scrolling often leaves you feeling strangely worse. Humans naturally measure their worth against people around them, especially online strangers. But social media shows you only curated highlight reels, never real struggles. So you compare your ordinary Tuesday to someone else's perfectly edited vacation. This creates a false gap between your life and everyone else's highlights. Researchers call this upward social comparison, and it quietly fuels deep unhappiness. The algorithm notices your sadness and feeds you more of exactly that. Negative emotions keep you scrolling longer, so platforms profit from your pain. Fear of missing out, or FOMO, is another carefully engineered psychological trap. Every notification whispers that something important happened while you weren't paying attention. This manufactured urgency keeps millions checking their phones the moment they wake. Even during conversations, meals, and sleep, that phantom buzz feels impossible to ignore. Likes and comments function as social currency, proving your worth to others. Your brain treats a like almost identically to a hug from friends. This is why losing followers can feel like an actual personal rejection. Platforms exploit this by making approval feel scarce, unpredictable, and worth chasing. Notifications are intentionally designed using color psychology to grab your attention instantly. Red badges trigger urgency because our brains associate that color with danger. Even the sound of a notification is tested for maximum psychological impact. Former tech executives have publicly admitted these features were built to manipulate. One called it brain hacking, designed by people who understood psychology deeply. Another compared the feed to a slot machine carried in your pocket. These aren't accidents, they're deliberate choices made by very intelligent design teams. Autoplay features remove your ability to consciously choose when to stop watching. The next video begins before your brain even registers the previous ending. This bypasses your decision-making entirely, sliding you into hours of passive consumption. Mirror neurons make us unconsciously mimic emotions we witness on our screens. Watching envy, anger, or anxiety online can quietly implant those same feelings. This is why doom scrolling often leaves people feeling drained, anxious, and hollow. The platforms rarely warn you because negative engagement is still highly profitable. Anger, in fact, spreads faster online than almost any other human emotion. Outrage generates comments, shares, and arguments, all of which boost algorithmic visibility. So, platforms subtly reward content that divides, angers, or provokes strong reactions. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's simply how attention economics function today. Understanding this business model changes how you interpret every single app design. Your attention is the actual product being sold to advertisers every day. The more time you spend scrolling, the more value you give them. This explains why apps constantly test new features to squeeze more time. A/B testing means every button, color, and layout was optimized against users. Millions of people unknowingly become test subjects for psychological engagement experiments daily. Even the placement of the like button was tested extensively before launching. Small tweaks in design can increase addictive behavior by significant, measurable percentages. Teenagers are especially vulnerable because their brains aren't fully developed yet biologically. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for impulse control, matures fully only around 25. This means teens have powerful cravings but weaker natural brakes to resist. Social media companies have long understood this vulnerability and targeted it directly. Filters and beauty algorithms warp self-image, creating unrealistic standards nobody can meet. Constant exposure to edited faces truly rewires what your brain considers normal. This contributes heavily to rising rates of anxiety, depression, and body issues. Comparison culture doesn't just affect appearance, it distorts entire perceptions of success. People showcase only their wins, vacations, promotions, and never their quiet struggles. This creates a skewed perception that everyone else is thriving except you. In reality, everyone struggles privately while performing confidence publicly for their audience. Validation-seeking behavior becomes a loop, chasing external approval instead of internal peace. The less secure someone feels internally, the more they seek digital validation. This creates a cycle where self-worth becomes tied directly to fluctuating metrics. A single day without notifications can trigger withdrawal symptoms in heavy users. Restlessness, irritability, and anxiety often mirror symptoms seen in substance dependency research. This isn't an exaggeration. Brain scans show striking similarities to addiction pathways. Dark patterns, deceptive design choices make it deliberately hard to log out. Ever notice how deleting an account requires 10 steps, but signing up? That asymmetry is intentional, designed specifically to keep you locked inside platforms. Even the language used, like streaks, creates guilt-driven obligation to keep returning. Breaking a streak feels like failure, even though nothing was actually lost. This gamification exploits loss aversion, our tendency to fear loss over gain. So, understanding these tricks is the very first step towards reclaiming your attention. Awareness alone won't fix everything, but it interrupts the automatic, unconscious response. Try turning off non-essential notifications to reduce artificial urgency throughout your day. Set specific times to check apps instead of responding to every buzz. Delete apps temporarily if you notice compulsive checking without any clear purpose. Practice mindful phone use by keeping devices outside your bedroom during sleep. Follow accounts that inspire genuine growth instead of triggering constant negative comparison. Remember that everyone's online highlight reel hides ordinary, imperfect, unfiltered daily reality. Your worth was never meant to be measured in likes or followers. Real connection happens slowly, offline through presence, not curated digital performance daily. The next time you feel that urge to check, pause and breathe. Ask yourself if you're choosing this action or simply reacting to urgency. Technology itself isn't evil, but it was built by people chasing profit. Understanding the psychology behind the screen gives you back meaningful, genuine control. You can enjoy these platforms without letting them quietly control your mind. Knowledge is the first defense against manipulation you never consciously agreed to. Share this video with someone who scrolls more than they'd honestly like to, because awareness spreads slower than outrage, but it matters so much more. The most powerful rebellion today might simply be reclaiming your own attention. Dark psychology thrives in silence, but understanding brings back your personal power. Every design choice was intentional, but your response can be intentional too. Choose awareness over autopilot and reclaim the mind these apps quietly rented.